Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, we're ready for the event.
Spectrum News 1, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Spectrum News 1. How do you hear me? This is Spectrum News 1. How do you hear me? Station, this is Spectrum News 1. How do you hear me?
Spectrum News 1, the International Space Station has you loud and clear. How us?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. It's great to join you. I want to begin with just getting to know you a bit better. If you could share just your name and a little bit about yourself and what led you to this profession.
Well, there's a lot of us with very diverse backgrounds. My name is Michael Barratt. I'm actually a medical doctor and a spaceflight physiology nerd, and I just love everything that NASA brings to the table, whether it be flying or Earth observation, photography, new science, and obviously how the human body adapts to spaceflight. So really nothing puts that together like the space program. Human spaceflight is just an amazing conglomeration of everything I love.
And I'm Tracy Dyson. I am formerly by background a PhD chemist, researcher, and have been an astronaut since '98. So it's kind of more of what I know. What turned me on to becoming a space explorer was learning about what astronauts did and what the International Space Station was all about, and everything that astronauts did kind of checked the boxes as far as what I was interested in. So I pursued that.
Wonderful. I love that. Tracy, I want to begin with you. Can you talk about some of the highlights of working as an astronaut and what you get to do in space?
Wow, there's so many highlights throughout our career. The type of work that we do is pretty extraordinary when you think about all the creative minds that come together to not just put us in space, but help us be productive in space. A lot of the science that we get to do here is world class and very interesting results given the microgravity environment and the types of objectives that we're trying to study. As far as going beyond low Earth orbit to the Moon and Mars. And so it's really fascinating to see how that all comes together and to be a part of it. I think some of the highlights are just overcoming some of the complexities of living and working in space, and especially as we do this with our global partnerships, with the commercial program, with industry, technology, all of these things coming together. It's made our program more complex, but more rich in terms of our interactions with our teammates and learning how to work in that kind of environment and still be able to produce results is very rewarding.
Michael, I want to go to you next. As a physician, you know all too well the impact that working in space can have on the body as well as the mind. Can you talk about some of the challenges of space travel on the body and mind and what's being done to address them?
Wow, that's a kind of a short question with a really, really big answer. And I would definitely not say I know all about either one of those because we're still learning so much. And I've kind of spent the last 2 decades or so kind of working on the knowledge base of space medicine, and certainly behavioral sciences is part of that. But the more we learn, the more we look, the closer we look, the more we find that we didn't see, either because it was very intricate and nuanced or because it was just hiding in plain sight. But to start, the body changes, every system changes. We start to lose bone and muscle. Our cardiovascular system shifts to this new zero-G reality. our immune system changes, and everything really has a space flight norm that we adapt to. Some of it is just adaptation. It's amazing watching us become three-dimensional creatures and start to work in microgravity, which we do actually pretty effectively. Some come with a little bit of a penalty. The bone and muscle loss we don't like, so we have to exercise hard every day and rehab when we land. As far as the mind challenges, you have to look at that a little bit more globally than just the challenges per se. There are benefits and there are stressors. And I would say that the benefits, the mental benefits really outweigh the stressors. I mean, you know, when think about videos of crew arriving, nobody comes up here through the hatch for the first day with a big frown on their face. Everybody is really happy to get here. And there's a lot of joy to be had in spaceflight. And I think that comes from listening to crew members internationally, as well as some of the studies that we've done looking at the psychological benefits of spaceflight. They're very real and very recordable. Having said that, being away from family is difficult. The stress of trying to succeed for experiments that Tracy was mentioning that may be years and millions of dollars in the making, and you are now representing that whole science team. And by the way, you're often on camera like we are now with people watching you do this. And of course, it is an international problem. Sometimes we have to look for an answer in a different language. It is a bilingual station, and everybody has to speak English and Russian. And so those are kind of the psychological surrounds that we have that make things a little bit challenging up here. I would say, again, that they're mostly offset with the joys, but we have to prepare for those challenges.
Absolutely. Tracy, I want to go to you as an astronaut who has worked in space for decades. Can you talk about any mental health related challenges you have faced personally or been in discussion with other astronauts about and how you've addressed them and overcome them?
Oh, well, the challenges range from professional to personal, from technical to just, you know, a daily clutter that you have to overcome in order to stay on your timeline. Some things are harder than others, like Mike mentioned, being away from family. I mean, the military is no stranger to deployments, and what we do is similar to that. And in order to do our jobs effectively up here, we rely on a lot of people on the ground to not only support us, but to support our families. And when things happen that are completely out of your control, there's not much you can do from this remote outpost. And so those are kinds of stressors that take a lot of support from people on the ground and your crewmates to help you get through those, and to help you see light at the end of the tunnel, and to stay focused on the things that are immediate and most important. And there's other things like well, as we are trying to do our spacewalks and go outside and repair things and to retrieve things, we combat certain failures, and we have to overcome those. And the best part about it is that we are up here as a team, not just the 9 of us that are on board right now, but the whole team on the ground and the team that is across this globe. And all of us are working together. Everybody is working so hard and dedicated, not just to this current mission that we're on, but the ongoing mission of the International Space Station and what it represents. And that alone helps us to overcome so many challenges up here that it's almost, in hindsight, a blessing, some of these trials that we go through. I think because
Wow,
we
I'm
go through them
happy to
together.
hear that. Yeah, I'm happy to hear about that. And there's so much research surrounding just group dynamics and the importance of sort of sharing the load and walking through life's challenges together. And certainly you are relying on each other there in space. And we're so glad that you have each other to work through all of the challenges that you may encounter. I have been hearing a great deal about VR headsets and how they are being used in space to help astronauts with mental health. I wonder if either of you have heard about those. Michael, I'll start with you. What have you heard about VR headsets for astronauts to help with their mental health, if anything?
You know, so we've talked about that for a long, long time. We actually have a VR headset kit up here that's available for people to use when they exercise. And I think the previous crew actually made good use of that. We have not. That's an individual choice. And I have to tell you that when we exercise on our resistive exercise machine, a lot of the exercises we do face us directly towards our cupola, which is a big bay window looking at the splendor, the grandeur of the Earth below us. And, you know, given a choice between VR and looking at the Earth down there, it's a pretty easy swing of the needle. So I don't think it's a magic answer. For some, it's a very comfortable media and a good entertainment. In general, we are not lacking for what you might call diversion or amusement, because the novelty, the magic of where we are in zero gravity in proximity to our mother planet is just overwhelming. Everything else is kind of chump change next to that. You know, having said that, once we break orbit and head off to Mars, we won't have the Earth next to us. We'll have delays in communications. It'll be a very different psychological surround, if you will. And we do need to understand the tools in our toolbox. But right now, we have all sorts of other things that absolutely keep us connected to home and family, and I think to whatever psychological support we need.
Tracy, I want to go back to you, and this is my final question. I could really ask you questions all day, but you have very important work to do. I just want to know, Tracy, what is your why? We have talked about the benefits of these space missions and the risk factors as well. So I want to begin with you, Tracy, and then move on to you, Michael. What is your why?
So by why, I suppose you mean why do this or why be here? And I think because we can, and we should. You know, if we stayed on our own planet, as beautiful and miraculous as it is, we may never know just how precious where we are is. And I venture to say that as far as we may go from our home planet, I think what will make space flight and space exploration so incredible is knowing what we have to come home to, because the further we are away, the more beautiful our Earth becomes. And from the vantage point that we have right now of low Earth orbit, we're so close yet far away, far enough that we can learn more about our planet, learn more about our own bodies in this environment, and perhaps make discoveries that we wouldn't have if we stayed on Earth. And not to mention how much ingenuity has gone into doing what we do. I mean, just the module that we're in alone is miraculous, and all of the things that it takes to put this together with the whole complement of the International Space Station, not to mention each rack and each individual scientific experiment that is going on just inside this module alone. And so when you think about the potential and what we have accomplished so far and how we have accomplished it together, it's like, why not? So like Mike said, we could probably go on and on and on with our thoughts on that, but thank you for that question.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Tracy, and we'll try not to repeat anything she said. I will note that almost every nation that has the wherewithal to develop heavy lift capability has done so and has come to the same conclusion that exploration and to a certain point, wise exploitation of space is a good idea. It's a good and logical and right thing for their country. It brings the best and brightest together, and it basically is an effort that says something positive about the future. Having grown up in the 60s and 70s, to date myself, that's kind of the time of awareness of what our environment is and how much we need to recognize it, understand it, and take care of it. Since that time, we've really kind of expanded our notion of what is our environment, what do we live in, what really affects us as a human civilization. It's bigger than our planet. You know, we exchange matter with the solar system on a daily basis. We're pockmarked with craters, although our geology kind of wipes them away over years. But nonetheless, we're not spared the bombardment that any other body in our solar system is either. We get warmth from the sun. I mean, we have to think of our environment as bigger than us, at the very least solar system scale. And expanding into our environment, understanding it, taking care of it. All of these things I think are essential, and I think they also draw us a little bit further off the planet and outward than just the innate need to explore. So that to me is kind of an awareness that has been developed over the last couple of decades of flight. I will add that to my why.
That is a great addition. Listen, I do not have another question, but humor me. Everyone wants to see you move about the cabin, so you do not need to speak at this moment, but I'd love to just sort of see you move about your space. It's not every day that we get to have this inside look at your activity there, and I'd love to just see you move about. It's so fascinating. As you do that, I am just, having my own moment, just watching you. This is really the coolest thing ever. It's so amazing.
I will tell you that this never gets old.
No.
You know, this is for Tracy and I our second long duration flight. And you can't imagine how we play with our food at the dinner table. We don't even have to get bitten by radioactive spiders to crawl on the walls.
No. Oh my goodness. How amazing. Listen, my sincerest thanks to you both for the miraculous work that you are doing there and have been doing for decades. And thank you for taking just this moment in time to share with Spectrum News and our viewers what it's like there, the impact on your physical and mental health, and your why. Most important question of all, the why of why you do what you do. Thank you again for your time and for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Dr. Clark, it's been our pleasure, and we really appreciate your interest and all of your questions and the time that you spent with us here on the International Space Station.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all participants and the station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.